There's another one you don't want to hear. Frankly, if you like.
1, 2, 3, set, go.
Hello and welcome to the Power Chord Hour podcast. As always, I'm your host, Anthony Merchant, welcoming you to your December 2021 rundown of the podcast. It is episode 85. Can't believe we're inching our way that much closer to episode 100, and cannot believe we are really inching our way here to 2022, which just blows my damn mind. I feel like I say that all the time at the end of these, and I probably do, but I mean, goddamn, I don't know. I was never in a pandemic before last year, but I don't think I would have ever thought that time would have flown by so much the last 2 years. It just seems insane. I would have thought time would have dragged on, but it seemed to do the opposite of it. We're at the end of another year, and it is absolutely crazy. And this is about really, I don't know off the top of my head, like the exact day, but I mean, we're basically at the 2-year anniversary now of the podcast, because I did like episode 1, which is basically like just a quick intro. If I remember correctly, it might even only be like 20 minutes long. I mean, honestly, you can look, it's on the podcast feed you're listening to this on. You can go back and look at episode 1. I think it's like 20 minutes. I could be totally wrong, but I think it's like a quick intro. But anyways, that was like late December. I know it was after Christmas. It was like late December of 2019 going into 2020. I mean, I always kind of think of 2020 is really being when the podcast started. I mean, if you want to get technical, it started like, I mean, right now it's December 27th. This one's coming out, and it had to be around December 27th that the first one came out. So that's insane. It's about 2 years of the podcast, and February, I cannot remember, but mid-February will mark the 6th anniversary of the radio show. I mean, that's just insane. It's crazy. But that is not what this episode is. You know, we're running down the month, not me just going, that's fucking insane, as I think about the concept of time and how it moves. But, you know, had a pretty good December overall. Hopefully your holidays have been great. You know, we still got New Year's Eve here coming up. But hopefully your Christmas, if you celebrate, was great. And just your holidays altogether have been rad. I had a pretty nice Christmas. I definitely enjoyed it. I got some goodies music-wise. I got Soul Asylum's While You Were Out, as well as Clam Dip and Other Delights as a nice double package. They put that out. Omnivore Records put that out in, I think, 2018, maybe 2019. They remastered and re-released the first, like, 3, I think, Soul Asylum records, and a bunch of, like, bonus tracks and stuff, and just really well put together. Omnivore Recordings is a lot like Rhino, where, and Omnivore will, like, put new stuff out. Like our recent guest of the show, Victor DiLorenzo, who original Violent Femmes drummer, he's about to put out next month. His new band Night Crickets is putting out their debut record, and that's coming out on Omnivore. So like Omnivore does put out new music, but they also like repress and re-release a lot of things, just like Rhino does. And they do a really good job. They're a lot like Rhino, where I go, you know, a lot of times things can feel like a quick cash grab. You know, like it's something's just thrown together. Like, yeah, let's throw some like bonus tracks on the end of this, or some shitty demos, and like we'll just throw it on the end of this album and be like, here's the 20th anniversary edition. Like, they're really well put together, like good liner notes and everything. On this one, John Worcester, Superchunk drummer, who actually I got some Superchunk for you later on in this episode. But he wrote some really cool liner notes for that, and just really, really good stuff. That album's great. I mean, I know I'm not saying anything new. That album's been out for longer than I've been alive. It's been out like 30-something years. I want to say like 1984 jumps out in my head. That might be right. Maybe a year or two later, somewhere in the realm of the mid-'80s, that third Soul Asylum record came out. But like, they do not get enough credit. And I talk to people about this all the time. But like, the thing with Soul Asylum that really is unfair, but it really is that like that credibility. You know, there's like the mainstream success, and then there's the like getting the cult status, and that like I mean, really, it's maybe credibility more than success, but it's still success. It's just in a different way. You know, I mean, maybe don't make so much money, but like the thing with it is like Soul Asylum, an amazing Minneapolis band. I mean, just an amazing band in general, but like really, I mean, a great catalog and everything. And they're one of those bands who I think had they not had that success in the 90s, I think they'd be looked at more as like these like indie rock heroes like the Replacements and Husker Du are. You know what I mean? Soul Asylum, if you're a real music lover and like, I mean, you're into like the Mats and Husker Du and everything, like I think you know that Soul Asylum is much more than like, you know, just Runaway Train and Misery, which to be honest, I like those songs, but I mean, the genius of Dave Pirner's songwriting goes way further than those songs and, you know, are kind of overlooked by, I think, music fans in general or the mainstream in general. But like, you know, if you're really into the music, you might know it. But like, they're one of those bands who, again, like had they not had those hits, had Grave Dancers Union not sold millions of records in the 90s, I think they would, you know, had they basically had like the career path of the Replacements or Husker Du, where it's like commercially they never sold really well, but like people are still talking about them years later. And I think the thing with Soul Asylum is like at this point, and they're still around, but like if the Replacements play a show, they're going to play to a much bigger crowd than Soul Asylum, even though, I mean, yeah, Soul Asylum has sold, I mean, just Grave Dancers Union alone has probably sold more records than all of the Replacements records combined have sold. I mean, but at the same time, in 2021, if one of them was to go play a show, you know, Soul Asylum would probably go play like a small theater, and, you know, the Replacements would play a pretty big theater, maybe even, maybe not an arena, but definitely a theater of a few thousand, whereas Soul Asylum might play to about 1,000. And I mean, I say that with love. I love Soul Asylum, and I still do. And there's still, I got to say, like, there's still great live. I know it's not the original lineup, but Dave Pirner has really good dudes playing with him, and including Michael Bland. He's been their drummer for quite a while now, too. Like, he's honestly been in the band for, I think, like 15 years or something. But, I mean, he played with Paul Westerberg and Prince, and he's a powerhouse. He's great, and I've seen Soul Asylum live a few times, and always Michael playing drums, and just really, really good. And yeah, like I said, Dave and company still really good live, like still worth going and seeing. And they I think they play a nice like mix of their whole career. But I think they're just one of those bands where like they don't get enough credit. And even now, like I mean, they're still going. And I mean, I don't think they play the size places that they really should. You know, I think they're still so great and such a great live band still. But, you know, I think that's what happens is you get that mainstream success for a while, and if you don't prolong it, which is very hard to do, honestly, like, you know, it's nothing against Soul Asylum. It's very hard for any band to continue that success for decades and decades. But, you know, I think when you do that, you also give up that. I mean, Nirvana's that. You know, Nirvana gets so many people into, you know, alt rock and like, you know, just punk rock and, you know, just that whole realm, you know, I mean, you know, Nirvana's really that like gateway for a lot of people. But with that, you know, Nirvana also doesn't have that cool credibility. You know, I mean, really, it's like they're not the obscure, it's not this like obscure cool thing to be like, yeah, Nevermind's like my favorite record. You know, you've probably never heard of it. Like, you know, I mean, people a lot of times obviously will go like, oh yeah, like that record got me into music, but like, you know, Nirvana doesn't particularly get the cool factor that, you know, saying you like Husker Du or something does. And same thing with Soul Asylum. You know, I think had they broken up in the you know, in the early to mid 90s, and again maybe even right before, really had they broken up before Grave Dancers Union, like had they put out and The Horse They Rode In On and then broke up, I think they would be like looked at as like these like pioneers and you know, just like these like Minneapolis music staples. And, you know, and again, like they get love in the Twin Cities. I've seen them live up there. People still definitely appreciate them. And, you know, it's not to say that like Soul Asylum's totally forgotten. But again, it's like I think Dave Pirner's still writing really damn good songs. And I think that band deserves a lot more attention than they get. But, you know, that happens with mainstream. But, yeah, anyway, getting that record was very cool. That nice double hit there. Because really that EP, too, if you've never heard it, which I was got to say, if you don't know Soul Asylum outside of the hits, go back and check them out. Definitely check out the old stuff. Like the first few records, like the ones I'm talking about right now, oh my God, they're so good. I mean, if you like just any of that college rock, indie rock of the 80s, I mean, this is just beautiful. Like Soul Asylum to me is a punk band that had rhythm. Like, and a lot of punk bands don't have rhythm, and they do. Like, they're very rhythmic. Like, they have a groove to their music. Like, it's punk, but it's more talented. You know what I mean? Like, they got a little more going on, and you feel like they probably listen to more than just punk rock. You know, you don't get the vibe that all they listen to is punk music. Like, you can tell, just like with I know I keep saying the Replacements, but it's an easy comparison. And just like with them, where it's like, yeah, there's punk in there, but you also realize that they're more, they're smarter than just punk. Like, there's so many more influences in there. And I mean, if you've never heard, really, I mean, their EP, Clam Dip and Other Delights, that is on this thing I got for Christmas, is even a good starting point. Really, really good stuff on there, and worth checking out. And then, I mean, even song-wise, everyone kind of, I think Soul Asylum fans, like people who dig a little deeper, like as far as singles go, Cartoon off Hang Time is like such a good song. Like that is a go-to, I would say, on the radio show when I play Soul Asylum. A lot of times I'm guilty of jumping right to that one, which not even guilty. It's a great damn song. But, a lot of times if I think about playing them, I feel like I jump to that one just because it's so good. But, a band well worth going back and checking out if you've overlooked over the years. But I got a few books, got some autobiographies from George Clinton and Richie Ramone. I am very excited to read both of those. And speaking of which, just a few days ago here was the 29th anniversary of Eddie Hazel's passing, Funkadelics guitar player. Such an insane talent. Another one who I've talked about a bunch on here, but really good. Hopefully there's some Eddie Hazel stories in the George Clinton memoir there. And that Richie Ramone one I'm really excited to read. When I interviewed him back in July, if you go back and listen to it, there are a few times and he's like, oh yeah, like if you want to hear more about that, like go check out my book. So I'm like, I'm really interested, because like I didn't realize, like when I was talking to him, like he talked a little bit, and then he's like, oh, the rest of it's in my book, kind of like a tease to sell it, which I loved. I thought it was clever and really funny too. But talking about like being a session drummer before the Ramones and stuff, and like some really interesting influences I didn't realize that maybe he had. So I'm excited to read both of those. I was really happy to get those. And as well, I did get, not a lot of vinyl, but I did get one record and international super hits. If you're going to get one record, might as well make it count. And Green Day's Greatest Hits, which is really one of my all-time favorite greatest hits. And it's probably because that combined with American Idiot was like my introduction to Green Day. But like, it's such a good greatest hits. And like, really, it's not like, as far as sequencing goes, they don't do anything special. I mean, it goes chronologically. Like there's a couple songs off Dookie, then a couple songs off Insomniac, then Nimrod, then Warning. Like, and obviously in the beginning you get the 2 unreleased tracks and JAR, which I mean, low key one of the best Green Day songs of all time. That bass line rules. But nothing super special in terms of, like, they don't really throw any curveballs, minus those unreleased songs, I guess. But like, it's just a greatest hits. I guess more than anything, it just shows the strength of Green Day's early singles there. But I think it's a great retrospective of like from Dookie to Warning, just that whole era. I think is I've always appreciated that. And again, like maybe it's the nostalgia, but it's one of my favorite greatest hits. I do like I think those are the best ones, and I'm trying off the top of my head. There's not a lot. You know what? Violent Femmes added up. Unless I'm wrong, I don't think that one goes in chronological order. I think that one is like sequenced in a way where like someone went through and like took the time, you know what I mean? Like, and the same thing, there's a couple live cuts in there, a couple unreleased things, those little weird like audio, like I don't really know if you want to call them skits, but just little like audio pieces in between songs and stuff, like just really well put together. But like greatest hits like that, and I guess / retrospective are always my favorite. But still, international super hits plus the like title and album cover are just great. I've always loved that, and you gotta love the accompanying DVD international super videos, I believe, if I'm remembering it correctly. I have a copy at home somewhere, But yeah, that was another nice one. So I got a couple goodies there for Christmas. I got some books, I got some vinyl, I got some CDs. Only thing missing was maybe a couple cassettes and 8 tracks. But it was a really good time. And yeah, December's been pretty fun. It's just kind of been getting back into the show, besides I guess doing the November rundown last month. This month was like the first real, month back since really taking November off basically, and most of October while being out west. And it's been great, including doing the interviews, having Love Breakers on the show. I mentioned it when I had him on, but it's like I've been listening to Primary Colors since they released it back in June, and why I didn't have them on sooner is beyond me. But great feedback from that one, and I had such a fun time talking to them. Like, so easy to talk to them. And I will say this too, like, as far as interviews go, like, and guests go, I love interviewing. Like, I mean, anyone who I love their music, I love to interview. But like, when you interview newer bands, sometimes the problem that I think you run into is trying to think of like more original questions because you just don't know so much about them. You know what I mean? Like, there's less info. You've had less time to spend with their music. There's just, even if you're doing research or even as a fan, you know what I mean? Because there's certain people, if I go interview someone who I've been a fan of for 5 or 6 years, I'm just going to have questions off the top of my head that I've probably had forever. Whereas like with newer bands, you kind of, I feel like you don't want to fall on those generic questions that you hear in interviews, but you also kind of like want to try to think of original things. And I think the less you know, like, and again, same with that, it's like, while you may not, it doesn't mean that I know someone because I've been listening to them for years, but you do have that kind of thing where you at least know things about them or feel like you know them in a roundabout way. So I feel like when you interview kind of newer bands or bands you don't know as much about, like even if you're a fan of their music, sometimes it can be harder, not that you don't hit it off, but like that it can be hard to keep a really long interview going because there's just not as much to talk about as far as their music goes. They might have one album out, so you don't have that body of work. When you interview like a Richie Ramone, who's been doing it for, about like 40 years, I think, there's a lot to talk about there. You can talk for literal hours. You could talk about their career. But anyways, what I'm trying to say with that, with Love Breakers, is it was not the case with them. I mean, right away, hit it off. Could have talked to them forever. Would definitely love to have Jack and Christian back on, as well as the rest of the guys too. Would love to have the other 2 dudes on as well. But love talking to them. I mean, Primary Colors, you'll hear me yapping about it again on next week's episode when I go through my top 10 records of 2021. I guess I spoiled it a little there, but I think I said it on the Love Breakers episode. Primary Colors is definitely in my, but I won't tell you where it lands on the list, but it is definitely in my top 10 of the year. It's just such a great record, including for this month. It's just, we're in that dreary fucking time of the year where it gets dark at like, 4:30. There's been a couple times I went to go hiking and it was kind of like a last minute thing because the weather was supposed to be really bad, and then it became like, it was like noon or 1 o'clock, and it really wasn't bad, and it ended up being like, I mean, when I say decent, please remember I live in Western New York. 90 minutes from Buffalo, New York. I live probably 20, 30 minutes from Lake Erie. So, we get lake effect snow and all that stuff. And, so December around here, when I say warmer or nicer, I'm still talking like 40 degrees, maybe 50 degrees. But there's been a couple times where I'm like, oh, it's like, 45 degrees and it's not snowing out. And it's a little muddy, but whatever. I'm going to go hiking. But like a real, you can still get like an hour in or so. But like there's a place I like to go that's like a 30-minute drive out. And like by the time I get out there and I try to get, 6 miles in per, about give or take probably 6 miles. It's flat, so it's more doable. But like you start doing it and you're like, well, shit, it's going to be dark at like 4:30. Like I am in a race against time. Like you're kind of leisurely strolling through because you're used to those summer months of like, it doesn't get pitch black until 10 o'clock. I can be in the woods for hours and not, I don't have to get in the woods until like 4 or 5 and we'll still have like 4 hours to go hiking. Whereas, the last couple ones I get out there and I'm like, oh shit, I forget it's about to be dark. And I have to like rush back. I'm like, oh yeah, I better like get going. I don't have the time to like leisurely stroll through the woods. But just being in that time with the snow and with it being so cold and it getting dark so early, Primary Color is such a like summertime record that it's been great to have during these months, and I'm sure the coming months as well, because it ain't gonna get any warmer here for a while. But besides Lovebreakers being on the show, which was an absolute blast, I had my buddy Kyle Steven on. We had to have him on one more time before the end of the year. He definitely wins. There's no real award here, but if there was, he would definitely win the award of being on the show the most this year. I think Joey Cobra might be just behind him. But yeah, Kyle, I think, has been on, that'd be like number 5 or 6, probably like his 5th or 6th appearance this year on the show. But always a great time with him. And we talked about Plus 44 is When Your Heart Stops Beating, which just turned 15 here a little over a month ago. And just a great record that just aged so well. And I think that's a topic that's going to come up soon on the show with a guest. Not next week's guest, but in a couple weeks here. Just about albums that have like aged like a fine wine. Like they get better with time. And I think this is one of them, When Your Heart Stops Beating. Like me and him were talking about it. It's like, listening to it at like 14 or 15 years old and then listening to it. I'm 29 now, and Kyle, I think, is like 32, 33 maybe. So like, like we're both in that realm of around the age that Mark was when he like wrote that album. And yeah, I mean, we just appreciate it more now, but it's like, it's an album that I think has just aged so just really, really well. And has kind of had me brainstorming lately, like other albums that I think have aged. Like albums that like I initially liked. It's not so much an album that like has to grow on you per se. Like you could like it from the get-go, but like you like it more and more as time goes on. And not like a nostalgia thing, like a truly like you learn to appreciate it in ways that you couldn't or you just didn't in the past. I've been thinking of some, and I told an upcoming guest that I'm like, hey, like this would be a fun thing to do when you come on, so we'll probably do that. But yeah, those are my 2 this month. I know we kind of lost a week because I was supposed to have, what would it have been? No, I guess it would have been the week I think after Lovebreakers maybe. I can't remember now. No. I think it would have been the first week of December. Kyle was supposed to come on to do When Your Heart Stops Beating. We had some technical difficulties, which fucked it up. So I ended up not coming out until 2 weeks later. We really had to do it again. We did it almost for a second time because we ended up just talking for 2 hours the first time when my phone fucked up. But and actually, I mean, I don't know what it will be like yet. But speaking of which, because I always bitch about those, I guess it'd be the lightning adapter or whatever for the aux cable. So when I do interviews, like to hook up my phone to the soundboard, I use one of those adapters to go into my phone, and then it goes into an aux cord into an RCA jack into the board. And those things have crapped out on me a bunch of times, or I've just forgotten them. So I just bought a Bluetooth receiver with some gift cards I got for Christmas. And it has an RCA jack on there that I can hook up to the board. So we're going to try. I don't know. I've never tried it before. Like wireless Bluetooth, I feel like I could see the audio maybe being compromised with that. Maybe the audio not being as good. But, I'm going to test it out. We'll see how it goes. And if it goes well, it will then me complaining about my adapter starting to shit the bed before an interview will be a thing of the past, and all I'll have to remember is that a Bluetooth adapter. It'll be another thing I have to remember, but still, it'll be one less thing. It'll be much harder to screw up, is what I'm trying to say. So as long as all goes well, we'll hopefully be utilizing that Bluetooth receiver. But like I mentioned a second ago, like with albums aging like a fine wine and a guest coming on soon, I don't know why I was saying it like that, like I was like teasing or something. But Joey Cobra will be coming on here in the next couple of days. The episode won't be, I mean, depending on when you're listening to this, until next year. But like 2 weeks, I think like 2 weeks. I'm trying to do the math. 2 or 3 weeks from now. But we're going to record it here in the WRFA studios. He's going to come in and be sitting. I'm looking across at the chair across from me in the studios right now at WRFA, and he'll be in here in a few days, right in that chair, talking about a bunch of stuff. So far, we're going to be talking about kind of looking in front and behind and like ahead, talking about like our favorite music of 2021, and then talking about like our most anticipated stuff of 2022. We're going to talk about, like I said, albums that we feel like have aged like a fine wine, and some other stuff too. I'm still thinking of some other things I want to discuss with him, but I'm really looking forward to it. He's been on a bunch too. He was on. Well, he was on twice this year. He was on once in 2020. And I mean, in a way, he'll be on a third time this year, but you won't hear it until next year. But that'll be his fourth appearance. And I always love having him on. And it's an extra treat to have him on, too, because we can have him in studio. And, obviously can't do that with a lot of other bands. I want to have Macklehat Murphy, a great local band who, if you listen to the radio show I've played on there, and if you go back and listen to some of our playlists on Spotify, they definitely pop up on those. But, just the pandemic and everything has made it very difficult. But they put out a great record really last year. It wasn't even this year. It was last year. But, I mean, I was talking to them about coming on, and it's just become, there was restrictions for a while. Then I just forget. Then you start getting other guests. I'm on break here, then I'm doing this and that and whatever, it just happens. It's the same with like albums. Like there's bands who send me music and I'm like, oh, I'm going to check that out. And then like 2 months go by before I check it out. I'm like, I didn't mean to do that. I just get, you get busy with the show and people sending you stuff and all that. It's not bad problems to have, but you just kind of get like caught up in things, and you don't maybe listen to them right away. And actually, that's the other thing too with having Joey on and kind of talking about our favorite music of 2021, because there's stuff I know that I'm going to tell him about that he missed, and then stuff that he's going to tell me about that I missed. One of them already actually being, because I was just listening to it before I came in here to record this, but Talk Show Host, a really good band on Wiretap Records, but they put out a record this year that like I meant to listen to for quite a while because I like Wiretap and I kept seeing the name and I'm like, all right, I got to give them a listen, and just kind of went by the wayside. You know what I mean? Like, again, nothing against the band. It just happens. More new music comes out. I end up like over the summer, like I think it was another one. I think that record came out in like June or something. And, I was out the second half of July and first half of August, and, I already had like 3 or 4 guests booked and everything. So it's like, your mind, and then all the other new music comes out, so it's like, yeah, your mind just goes other places, and the bands you keep meaning to get around to, you never do, or you take a long time. But one of the things, Joey sent me some of the bands he was into this year, and that one popped up there. That band popped up a few times on his playlist, and I'm like, all right, I should I need to check them out. And then today I finally did, and their new record, really, really good. I believe it is Mid-Century Modern. But I really like it. I first listened through, was really enjoyable, and another great Canadian band. A lot of good music coming out of Canada this year. I mean, the Dirty Nil being the gold standard, but a lot of rad bands, and I know a lot of good stuff coming up here in 2022 coming from Canadian bands. But so I'm excited for that. But yeah, like things like that where like I missed that Talk Show Host record. Now I'm like, oh my God, this thing's great. And I'm going to play it next week. This is my last podcast for the year, but our last episode is going to be of the radio show. I'm really excited. It is on Friday nights, and next Friday, if you're doing the math at home, is New Year's Eve. So New Year's Eve into New Year's Day doing the show, and we're going to do it special. Normally it's 2 hours, 10 to midnight, but I got the okay from the good people here at WRFA. Shout out Jason Sample. He said I could go 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So, I'm closing out the year and ringing in a new one. I'll be broadcasting from 2021 to 2022 this Friday, and just playing a shit ton. There's not another word for it. A shit ton of music from 2021, just going through my favorite music of the year. And I have 4 hours for it. So I've been formatting it and really figuring out like everything I want to do. But I'm really excited, and I'm going to be doing. It's cool on that too because I'm going to be able to do my top 10 list like I will on here, but I'll be able to play the music. I won't get flagged for copyright on YouTube and shit. So on there, I can be like, oh yeah, like I love so and so. I love this record, and then play a couple songs off of it. So I'm excited to do that. I'm really. I will definitely play some talk show host on there because they're really good. And a bunch of other stuff. I'm excited for that one, and we got lucky this year because I love the last 2 episodes of every year of the radio show, because the first one being the holiday special where I play just a bunch of punk and alternative holiday music, and then the next week is a bunch of music from that year, whatever year it is. I play the best, like my top 10, and then a bunch of other stuff. And it's always fun, but this year was really fun because last week the episode fell on Christmas Eve. Our holiday episode fell on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, and this year our end of the year episode falls on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, which is rad. That doesn't happen every year, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy with it falling on that. So I was very stoked that I can do a 4-hour one here coming up, and I got to tell you, it was not hard to get the playlist around. I mean, it's all but done, the playlist. I might have a little time to, if I have an afterthought, I might have room for like 1 or 2 more songs, but like I'm pretty much set for it, and was not hard to fill 4 hours at all. And then you have to think like 4 hours, but then also I'm going to be talking and discussing albums and stuff, and then there's commercial breaks and station IDs and stuff like that. So, you take all that in consideration. It is not hard to fill 4 hours. I could easily do a 4-hour show every week. Like really, during this pandemic, going from an hour to 2 hours, I now look back at doing an hour of the show, and I'm like, that seems like nothing. Like, honestly, it's so funny really both, like doing the podcast as well as doing a 2-hour radio show every week. It feels like when I was doing an hour radio show, it was like nothing. Like it was just like, what was that? Like that took no time, including like, I get much more interview heavy now because of, thankfully for the podcast, it really lights a fire under my ass to have more guests. But, there are a lot of years of doing the radio show where, truth be told, I only had a handful of guests throughout the year, maybe a guest every other month, basically about that. And, I like look back on that now and I go, a lot of weeks just doing like a 1-hour radio show where it was just me talking and spinning some music. And don't get me wrong, it was fucking loads of fun. It always has been. But it's like, wow, like that feels like nothing now. Whereas back then, you still got to produce the show. That's still probably like 12 or 13 songs. And I got to like, do show prep and get things around. Like it's still time consuming, but like nothing like now. Like now I'm like, oh my God, like that's nothing to produce a 1-hour radio show every week. But doing the 2-hour one is like nothing. And I think doing 4 hours a week would probably be nothing as well. Now doing it daily might be a different thing, but once a week at 4 hours, I don't think would be a problem. It's really fun. I mean, doing the radio show, like I was just talking to Kyle about this too. Kyle Steven, you know him, you love him. We were just talking about him doing the Plus 44 episode with me. But we were texting back and forth, and I was just talking to him about like how I feel fortunate like having the outlet of a radio show and a podcast, because there's so many podcasts that like the way they're formatted, they just want to be a radio show so bad. But I think it ruined, like, I think podcasts are something different from radio shows. Like, obviously there's similarities, but I also think they should be looked at as different things. Like, podcasts have more of a way, like, I don't think podcasts should be so formatted. Like, and it's kind of ironic because, like, the monthly rundowns obviously have a format. I bullshit for a while, then I talk about the new music for the month, and I play a few songs, and I do music news. Like, I mean, that's literally the format. But, like, it's still kind of fast and loose, whereas, like, some shows have, like, they're just so, like, they have their segments, they're very formatted in a way where it's like, bro, I get, like, if you're a radio show, you have to do that, and you kind of get that when you start doing radio. It's like there's commercial breaks, there's station IDs, there's just different things you have to get to on a lot of stations. There's local news and weather every hour, like, depending on what you're doing, you kind of have to format it in that way because it is cut in hour blocks, just like the Power Chord Hour is. That's why that's why our show is called the Power Chord Hour, because it was originally a radio show that was an hour long. Now it's 2 hours long, and these podcasts are hardly ever just 1 hour. They're normally multiple hours as well. But, like with radio, it makes sense. But some podcasts, I'm like, why is it so like regimented in that way? I'm like, it should be so much more laid back, I think, podcasts than radio shows are. And that's not to say, I'm not trying to say it like radio is bad for being formatted. Like I said, I think both are really good for what they are, but you have to separate them and realize that they're two different things. I mean, yes, they're the audio format, and podcasts come out of radio 100%. But, I still think they're two different things, and I think a lot of podcasters make that mistake of doing their podcast too much like a radio show. But I was just talking to Kyle about that. I'm like, I'm happy I have both outlets, because it's like, podcasts are really fun, and it gets me to have guests on. But radio shows, like just doing the radio show, like 4 hours on New Year's Eve, like that's so rad. Like I'm so excited to do that and put the music together and really do that, like do segments and format it, format it for 4 hours in a way that I wouldn't do the podcast. You know what I mean? Like I would not put that amount of production in one, and I don't know, it probably shows. Maybe the quality of these podcasts, you go, yeah, we can tell, but I probably wouldn't put that much amount of production into a podcast because I just don't feel like it's necessary. I just don't feel like that's what the medium is about, And maybe this will age horribly. Maybe I'll sell out in 2022 and we'll just have a bunch of like really dumb segments and like I don't know, just really. It's funny because I feel like I don't describe it well, just like when I was talking about this with Kyle, but it's like in my head I know exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about this, like how some podcasts are set up like a radio show, like, and some just honestly sound like they want it, like they just, all they've ever listened to is NPR. Like they sound like they just have heard NPR and they make their show sound like it. Like they think they have to talk in this really monotone voice and stuff. And like, I don't know. I'll quit talking shit on that. But and I'm not talking shit on NPR. NPR is great, but not people doing a podcast who are trying to rip off what they hear on NPR. You're not Terry Gross, bro. But and I'm not trying to be that. I don't feel like this show is. I don't know if this show reminds you of NPR, and I realize NPR is a station, not a show. But I mean, if this reminds you of any fine programming you'd hear on NPR, I'd be very surprised at that. But I don't know. I guess art, if you want to call this that, is subjective. Podcasts are just a real work of art. But it's been fun doing the show this month. It was fun talking to Kyle about that, and I was talking to him about like topics for the next year because I love having him on. Him as well as my buddy Zach, who comes on quite a bit and might be on soon. I may have him on like within the next couple weeks for something cool. So stay tuned for that. He might be on. But hit me up at powerchordhour@gmail.com. I would love to know like what albums or topics you would like me and Kyle to discuss. I mean, if you've heard the episodes with him, he's great to just have on and us bullshit about, we go track by track through albums or just a topic and sit here for hours and discuss it. So, I mean, if, you enjoy those episodes that are just kind of the longer ones with just kind of two buddies talking, you know what I mean? They're basically on a Saturday evening, Saturday night, I give him a call and we just talk. We just bullshit for a couple hours. And I can tell you, normally we bullshit like another couple hours after the mics are off. But, if you enjoy those episodes and you have any ideas for like albums or topics you think would be great for me and Kyle to discuss, I would love to hear them. So hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. As I get ready for 2022, I've been getting hitting up new guests, thinking of new ideas for the show and stuff. And I mean, that's another one. I mean, if you have any ideas for the show or how we should grow it or where you would like the show to grow to, I would love to hear your input. I definitely appreciate it. And if you're listening, I definitely take your opinion seriously. So let me know about that stuff. But anyways, we're going to keep moving along here in our December 2021 rundown. And a couple releases of the month, and I do mean a couple. I mean, December's really, we I was going to say we're going into, but we're kind of in it now, the real kind of dead zone as far as music goes for for new things. December, I think things die down, and then I think things really start picking up like February and March, really in March. But January is another one where like you'll get some releases, but you're not going to get tons and tons. And December is definitely that. So I just have a few for you. But Grade 2 put out an acoustic sessions called Graveyard Island Acoustic Sessions, and it is a couple acoustic versions of songs off their 2019 record Graveyard EP. And I gotta tell you, I did not know about or Graveyard Island, I should say, Graveyard Island EP. I did not know about that EP. I heard the acoustic sessions first, going, "Wow, I really like this." And it's funny because I'm like, this sounds like really. I mean, it kind of sounds, and I'll play you something off the EP here in a minute. But it kind of sounds like Violent Femmes, like acoustic punk. And I'm like, man, I could hear this as full band. And then I realized, oh, these are acoustic versions of an electric album from a few years ago. So I got to go back and check that out. But it's really, really good stuff. And came out on Hellcat Records, and Tim Armstrong produced it. I think this one as well. He produced their EP, the Graveyard Island EP. I think he might have produced this one as well. Not entirely sure, but it is out on Hellcat as well. And you can, I think when you hear them, you can go like, oh yeah, like this totally fits on Hellcat. Some really good oi punk for you. But going along with Christmas music, Newfound Glory, December's Here, a new holiday album from the band. And they're one of those ones who have kind of put out different holiday songs throughout the year, so it makes sense. Another one, and a really cool one, Green Day just put out BBC Sessions, which is various BBC performances from 1994 to 2001, basically through those international super hits years. And really, really good performances. I mean, they're one of those bands. If you've ever seen them live, you know that's one of the strong suits of Green Day. They're really good live, and these old ones just remind you that they've always just been such a great band. It's funny too because I've always loved Green Day, but like as I talk about like albums like aging like a fine wine, I feel like Green Day I've had a renaissance with the last year or so, where like I go back. And I think I've done it a few times throughout my years because just of how long I've been listening to them. But like the ups and downs where you listen to them a lot, then you don't listen to them for a while, then you listen to them a lot. But like I'm kind of having it again lately where I've always realized their importance to myself personally and just, punk music in general. But like really listening to them again lately and going like, including with the old shit, being like, oh my God, like they really are like, what a great band. Like no wonder they're a gateway for so many people. And like, no wonder they got as big as they did. They deserve all of it, And another one put out something new. Superchunk put out a brand new single, Endless Summer, off their upcoming record coming out early next year, which I'm very excited for. I'll play that single for you here in a minute. New Superchunk is always a good thing. MC Lars put out a new one, Blockchain Planet. Nathan Gray of the band Boy Sets Fire just put out a new one, Rebel Songs. New compilation, Stars Rock Kill, which is a Kill Rock Stars 30th anniversary comp. That one is coming out December 31st, so it might be out depending when you're listening to this. And Punchline put out, speaking of holiday music, a holiday EP called Holiday EP. And it has a bunch of their classic holiday songs. And, I mean, just like Newfound... Actually, no, they probably give Newfound Glory a run for their money. I think Punchline's probably put out more holiday songs. And there's a collection of them. And there is also a new song on there, which I will play for you right now. And we'll keep it to one holiday song on here. But, it's only a few days since Christmas, so I feel like we're still in that holiday spirit. So right now, off the new holiday EP from Punchline, this is I Won't Let You Down This Christmas, right here on the December 2021 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast.
What's up? This is Joey Cobra, and you're listening to the Power Chord Hour.
Right here on the December 2021 rundown of the Power Chord Hour podcast, that was Superchunk with their latest single, Endless Summer. Before that was Grade 2 with the acoustic version of Murder Town off Graveyard Island Acoustic Sessions. And opening up that block of music was Punchline with a new one, I Won't Let You Down This Christmas, featuring Brendan Brown of Wheatus off the brand new holiday EP titled Holiday EP. Really, really good one. Go check that out before the new year, and it will still... I mean, you can still listen to it in January, but like... listen to it before the end of the month, and you're in business. But moving on here, we got a little bit of music news before the end of the episode, and this is a really cool one, and definitely well worth your time to go check out if you're on vacation or holiday here and bored. And Jimmy Eat World have just released some really nice high-definition video of full performances of last year's Phoenix Sessions. And the band did 3 performances playing Clarity, Futures, and Surviving, all of their records front to back. That was back in December of 2020, so it was about a year ago. And all are now available on the Jimmy Eat World YouTube page. Go check out. And if you just want to hear the audio is also now streaming on all streaming platforms. And the band also just released some limited Phoenix Sessions merchandise, which you can go find on the Jimmy Eat World website. I mean, really good stuff. I was watching some of Clarity today, and it's so rad to see them play these albums front to back because, including Clarity, obviously they've really they kind of opened the floodgates for album anniversary tours, I would argue, back in 2009 with the first, with the Clarity 10-year anniversary tour. But, still, I would say in the general Jimmy Eat World set, they do play songs off that album, but they play a handful that they always play. So, it was very rad to hear them play some of the ones that they never do. And same with Futures and Surviving, and including Surviving. I've said it a million times. Really, they outdid themselves. One of the best later Jimmy World records, and I think really up there is one of my favorites. And it was really cool to hear them do all of those front to back. And my God, do they sound good! That is a band who I've never seen live, and I kick myself for it. Things seem to get fucked up every time I'm supposed to see them live. But they just did so well. Same again with Clarity. Don't get me wrong, they've done the album tours and shit. So it's not like these aren't songs that they haven't, it's not like they haven't not played those songs within the last, 10 years or whatever. But still, again, for being songs that they don't play on a regular basis, they had them down packed, so cool. And the performance, if you've not seen the video, they didn't play with a crowd or anything like that. It's really beautifully shot, really well done, multiple camera angles, and just really the sound quality sounds great. Can't say enough good things about it. If you're a Jimmy Eat World fan, go check those out. And again, if you're just if you got some time to kill right now, you're on a nice little vacation or break. It is a good time to sit in front of your computer or on your phone or whatever. However you watch YouTube and watch these, because they are really fucking good. I got really stoked watching them. They're one of those things honestly, that's why I bring it up. I just watched it. Oh my God. I love Jimmy Eat World, but it's one of those things you watch them and go, wow. Sometimes you just see a band play it when they're good live. It makes you like them that much more. I know my buddy Zach just saw the Dirty Nil for the first time earlier this month. And I've seen video. I've sadly never seen them live, but what everyone says is how great they are live. And he's he was already a fan before. He became a bigger fan after. He's just dude, they were just so good. It made me love them even more. And I always love that about bands. There's certain bands that have done that for me too, where I was a fan already, but then you see them live, you go, holy fuck, I love this band even more. So go check that one out. I feel like I've been talking about Green Day this whole fucking episode, but I'm going to talk about Green Day more. And in music news, Green Day recently teased on Instagram that they're currently recording at RAK Studios over in London. And in the teaser, they did a little video teaser. The number 1972 pops up on screen. And what I have figured out, that is the year that all 3 members of the band were born. And there's not much else to it besides that. Just kind of connecting that would be the reason that pops up there. But they put that little teaser up on their Instagram, and this would be the first one. This would be their first album since last year's Father of All Motherfuckers was released back in 2020. And I'm excited for this. Like I said, I've been on a Green Day kick lately, which makes me a little more excited. I think really because Father of All Motherfuckers came out right around the time I started doing this podcast, and I just wasn't that. You can probably hear it. I'm just going on a whim here. I haven't went back and listened to it, but I'll always love Green Day, but I don't think I was that interested in that coming out. I've since listened to the album. It's okay. But like lately, I don't know. I think maybe just because I've been on a kick of them and like a lot of older stuff too. It's not to say they're going to like write another album that sounds like Insomniac, nor do I expect them to. But like, I either way, for whatever reason, might just be listening to the older stuff lately, but like I'm excited to hear what they do next. I'm very stoked. I think they're a band. They'll still put out good songs too. I know they become polarizing in later years, but like I still think even the last few albums still have, if nothing else, a few jams. Like Revolution Radio, I don't remember being particularly bad. If anything, I'd just say I kind of forgettable, just where I've forgotten a lot of it. But like there are songs that I do remember off it and remember listening to where it's like maybe the whole album isn't like a masterpiece front to back, but there's some damn good songs on it. And, I think Green Day at the very least is still capable of writing some damn good songs on every album. And I also think it's just still writing a great record front to back. Like, I think they still have that in them. So, I'm excited. I think when bands have been around for a while too, I think that is normal to kind of go kind of up and down with your expectations and your excitement for a new album, including depending on whatever they released last, how you feel about it. But I was going to say recent. It's probably, I think it was earlier this year, but that was the last time I heard Father of All Motherfuckers. And I remember going through the songs just kind of randomly on YouTube and like some of them just being like, really the other thing is, to be honest, I don't know that any of them are that bad. I think Green Day, just you hold such a standard to them and you kind of, you want a certain sound or a certain something from them that it's like, honestly, there's a lot of stuff that's more, I think a lot of people's complaints are like, they're more straight up rock and roll and kind of like experimental stuff that they've done kind of on more recent albums. But like, again, if you weren't expecting just a straight up punk rock record from like Green Day, like the songs aren't bad songs. I mean, even like Uno Dos Tres, like they, or Trey, I should say, like for the most part, those albums overall, like I think you should whittle them down and then you have like one really good album. But like even the songs I would take off, I don't know that I would even say they're terrible songs. They're just not great Green Day songs. You know what I mean? They might be good songs in another context or from another band. I might like it, but it just has more to do with Green Day. But I'm excited for this. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if 1972, that's going to like let us know the title of the album or what, but obviously that has something to do with their with them all being born in 1972 and all of them celebrating their 50th birthdays coming up this coming year. So I don't know. Like, again, I think Green Day is a band who's gonna, they've done it before, but it's like I think there's people, obviously they're still fucking huge. Like I say it like they're the odd man out or they're the underdog, but like, there's definitely Green Day fans, including older ones who I think have kind of ridden them off in recent years, where I think before Green Day is done, I have no signs of stopping anytime soon, but like I think Green Day might pump out a few more records before the end for them that even old school fans are into. I think they're still very much capable of doing that. I think more than anything too, they've written those classic albums. And I think there's also a part of them with an album like Father of All Motherfuckers or like on the album trilogy where it's like, hey, we've kind of done that. Like, we're going to fuck around and do what we want. You know what I mean? Because like, if nothing else, it seems genuine, like they're having fun playing it and writing it. You know what I mean? Like, it never feels, I feel like if they wanted to do a cash grab, it would just be, let's keep shitting out more things that sound like 21st Century Breakdown and American Idiot. Like, that would be the thing, is keep writing albums that sound like just rehashes of that. Like, the fact that they're doing different things, whether or not it's always, your favorite thing they've ever done, I think they keep true to what they want to do, and I can respect that. And I think that them being genuine that way is why I also think they will, end up writing something that no matter what era of Green Day you like, I think you'll end up falling in love with again. And maybe it'll be this album. Who knows? I'm excited to see what they do on this next one, which I'm sure we'll get here in 2022. So I definitely put that on my anticipated list. And one last piece of music news, and a very cool one, to celebrate 26 years as a label, assuming that, I'm going to say they were probably going to do something this year, and fucking COVID kind of messed that up for them. But celebrating 26 years as a label, Vagrant Records has announced 2 shows next year in May and June with bands back from, I mean, really arguably the prime of that label, which is their early 2000s roster. And if you've not seen these lineups yet, they are, I mean, if you're a fan of that early 2000s Vagrant Records, which I'm a huge fan of, listen to these lineups. May 28th, playing in Irvine, California. Dashboard Confessional, Alkaline Trio, Thrice, the Get Up Kids, the Anniversary, and Hot Rod Circuit. And then June 11th in Worcester, Mass., it's going to be Dashboard Confessional, Thrice, Monine, the Anniversary, Hot Rod Circuit, and the Get Up Kids. And tickets for that are on sale now for both dates. I mean, that sounds like a good time. Either of those shows sounds like a damn good time. All of those bands I'm definitely a fan of. And, I mean, even more specifically on those bills, Hot Rod Circuit and the Get Up Kids and Alkaline Trio. And definitely Monine too, because Monine doesn't play a hell of a whole lot, I feel like. Like, they do things from time to time, but they're not one you see a whole lot. I guess Hot Rod Circuit's another one you don't see a whole lot. I would say of all those, I mean, Dashboard is pretty active. Thrice is pretty active. They just put out a new record last month, I believe. And, Alkaline Trio, not as active as most fans would like them to be, but they're still active. But, the other ones, yeah, you don't... And the Get Up Kids, I should say the Get Up Kids, too. I'd say they're pretty damn active. But a couple of the other ones in there, yeah, like, Monine and Hot Rod. And even the Anniversary, they do some shows here and there, but another one who's not super active, it's cool to see them playing. And I don't know, I mean, they haven't announced more dates, but I could see them doing a couple more throughout next year. I know this year they did release a few of their classic records on vinyl, and Matt Pryor's been doing a podcast where he talks to a bunch of the artists from those classic Vagrant record albums. It's cool to kind of see them embrace it again, because to be honest, Vagrant for a while there kind of wiped away. And I kind of talked about this, I think, on my on the label loyalty episode, but Vagrant in the early 2000s, I mean, they really, even though I don't always think of them in the same thought as your drive-through records, they really put out some of the quintessential albums of that time in pop punk and emo. I mean, that roster is and even before that, when they started out in the mid to late 90s, even that roster going into 1997 to 2007, amazing roster, amazing bands, amazing music, just all around cool label. And the last few years they kind of got more into, I think, indie rock and kind of, not even the last few years, last decade or so. They were, because I remember even Census Fail put out The Fire, I think, on Vagrant Records in 2010, 2011. And I think even at that point, Census Fail was the last band that was kind of a holdout of that old era. And the Hold Steady, I think, was still on them, on Vagrant at that point. They were the Hold Steady and Census Fail, I think, were two holdouts. And at that point, most of the other bands had either broken up or had since signed other labels. But, I think there was a time where they weren't, which, I shouldn't even say embracing. I get it. You're moving on and doing something different. So you're not just going to stick in the past the whole time. But it is still cool as a fan to see them embracing that again. Really the era of the label that put them on the map. The whole reason most people know what Vagrant Records is anyway. So, it's cool to see that. And hopefully we get some more. I probably not going to that Irvine one, but if I'm still here on the East Coast in June, because I'm still trying to figure out about moving here right now, but I may go to that Massachusetts show for sure. I got Mushmouth there for a second. Great. I just think of those bands. Hot Rod Circuit too is one. I've seen Andy Jackson do an acoustic set and played a good chunk of Sorry About Tomorrow, which was really, really cool to see. But I've never seen Hot Rod Circuit live, and I would absolutely love to see them live. Of all those bands, if you go watch those old videos, I mean, my God, they were great live. And Casey, their lead guitarist, he does not get talked about enough when you talk about live presence and shit. Just crazy wild man up there on a guitar. Would love to see them live. So I'm excited for that. I will definitely try to go see that tour if I am in the vicinity of either of those, which would probably be the East Coast show there. But yeah, I'm excited for that. That is going to be next year, and that is going to be it for the Power Chord Hour podcast. And this is our last one for 2021. Thank you very much for listening this year. If this is your first one listening, or your first episode you've listened to this year, or you've binged through the whole thing, whatever it is, I know we've picked up a lot of listeners this year, and sincerely, thank you. So fucking cool. And not the last one. On the radio show this Friday, I'm sure I'll get even more sentimental and talk about the year and just ending our 5-year anniversary and everything. But really, really cool year on the show. I mean, getting to interview some real legit people, heroes and people I've been listening to forever. I mean, Richie Ramone, Greg Eklund of Everclear, Victor DiLorenzo, the Violent Femmes. These are people I've listened to forever. Even Luke Bentham of the Dirty Nil, being, a band who I say all the time is my favorite who's doing it right now. Just being that fortunate to talk to them and getting to just talk to people who listen to the show. I can't tell you how much I appreciate when people just take 2 seconds out of their day, just be like, hey, I really enjoyed this episode, or I enjoy this band and stuff. And obviously, if you can't tell from this show, I enjoy talking about music. So I like just talking to people about music. It's really, to be honest, our Twitter account was always my least favorite, because we just, there really wasn't, to be honest, it was mostly interaction. We really didn't have a lot of interaction on there. People weren't really either replying or even just really talking music and shit. And I've found a really cool music community on Twitter who, has been really great to talk to. You can go on there and just literally, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people I talk on there who have never heard the show and never have any intent to listen to the show. But, we just bullshit about the replacements for hours. I can sit on there and just back and forth about the replacements and whatever else, and it's really fun, And some of them end up listening to the show, and that's awesome. But even ones where you just get on there and it's an outlet, just the fact that, I have this show and I'm on Twitter promoting it, and it just so happens leads me to talking to different people about music. The music I love is just awesome. So it is great to be ending another year of doing the show. And again, the whole reason I'm doing it is because people are listening. I'd probably do it if no one was listening, but it makes me look a lot less fucking crazy that someone's listening to this. So again, thank you very much for making 2021 a rad year. And it was a really fun time too to celebrate 5 years of doing the show. It really was. I got to say, I'm pretty proud and satisfied with the way the show's been going, and that is all thanks to you. So if you wanna stay connected, I'm being so heartfelt, and now it's time to ask you not to open your wallet, but to go follow us online. I won't ask you for any money, but go follow us online at Power Chord Hour on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Go follow us on there. It would be very much appreciated. Like I said, I've been a lot more active on Twitter. That is a fun place for us. I feel like I'm always talking music on there. And my hot takes, I was talking the other day about how if you think bass is quote-unquote easier than guitar, you're basically a shitty fucking bass player, which is very true. If you ever hear a guitar player tell you, if you're trying to learn music or something, and oh, you just learned bass, it's way easier than guitar, far from the truth. Not true at all. No, not at all. That person is just a shitty bass player, and I stand by that fact. And it is in fact a fact. And yeah, so follow us, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find the show on YouTube. Maybe you're listening to us there right now, but if you either way, go subscribe on our YouTube page. Go subscribe, rate, and review the podcast anywhere you go listen to podcasts. We got new ones for you every Monday. If you're new to the show, maybe you don't know, but we got new ones every week, and a new radio show every Friday night, 10 to midnight Eastern on 107.9 WRFA in Jamestown, New York. And this Friday, December 31st, 2021, going into January 1st, 2022. It is a 4-hour Power Chord Hour special. I am spinning 4 hours of music from 2021, going through my list of top 10 of the year and beyond, obviously, within that time. And it's just going to be a fun time. It's going to be a really good show. So if you're not doing anything New Year's, which with everything going on may not be the worst idea to stay in the house this year. May not be the worst time to lay low. So I mean, if you are, or even if you do have a few people over and you're just hanging out, throw it on, listen to some music from the year. But yeah, that is on 107.9 WRFA in Jamestown, New York. But you are probably listening to this somewhere that is not Jamestown, New York. And guess what? You can still listen. You can stream the station on WRFALP.com. Go check it out, WRFALP.com. Just click the streaming button there, and you can stream the station, all the other great shows, my show, and all that good stuff there. Hit me up, powerchordhour@gmail.com. Would love to talk music with you. And I have a few Power Chord Hour stickers left, literally just a few, so hit me up. I got to order some more, and I probably should do that soon. But until I do that, you just hit me up now so I can get rid of what I do have. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I think that is everything. Tune back in next week. It's going to be another solo one. It is me discussing my top 10 albums of 2021. We're going to get very in-depth, probably sit here for an hour or so, and just go down the list. I'm very excited for that. But until then, for the Power Chord Hour, I'm Anthony Merchant. Have very happy holidays. Hope you have a great rest of 2021, a really, really good 2022 coming up. And thank you so much for listening.